We are Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
And I'm Luke.
Hey, Vince.
Yes!
We've got Luke again.
Hey, Luke.
Hey, buddy!
What are we going to talk about today, Vince?
Today, we're going to talk about... I don't know. We talk about things on this show?
Yeah, we do. We talk about stuff on the show.
Yeah.
We are going
What is our topic?
We are going to talk about... See, now that you switched it up, I'm like, I don't remember.
Today's topic is comedic actors.
Okay.
And when it is a good idea for them to switch over and do serious stuff. Should that always happen? Is it okay if they stay in comedy all the time? That's the question, and that's what we're going to talk about today, and I'm sure we'll come up with many, many examples. Putting 10 minutes on the clock, just because Vince likes it when I use the timer. Here we go. All right, Vince, start us off, dude.
Well, I think that personally, you got to use it. No, I'm kidding. You got to use a funny voice. So I think that it really depends on the level of talent that the actor has. Like, I think that it takes a great degree of talent to be a comedic actor, because not everybody can do it. Not everybody is really suited for comedy, but at the same time, just because you're suited for comedy doesn't mean you're suited for anything. I've heard a lot of like theater people tell me, well, if you can do comedy, you can do anything. I don't think that's true.
Oh, okay. All right, I've heard that a lot, too. I mean, people say that comedy is harder than drama. Do you agree with that?
I would say that timing drama is easier than timing comedy, but I would say that just because you're good at comedy doesn't make you good at drama. There is an inherent difference. Like, for example, I think some people, it's just hard to take them seriously. Either they have a strange voice, or they have strange mannerisms, or their just natural way of speaking comes off as slightly insincere, therefore you don't believe them. Like for example, you wouldn't put Dave Attell. You might put Dave Attell. I guess he could probably be serious. You wouldn't put Dave Chappelle in something that's supposed to be extremely serious, because at the moment that he goes, "Oh," you're gonna crack up.
Hey, man.
Yeah, unless he was comic relief. Like you can put people like, you know, when you said that, I thought of Coolio. Like, Coolio's been in some movies and he can act, but no, really, I think he's a good actor. But he's almost always comic relief when he's in stuff, or he's or at least things I've seen him in. He's
I've only actually seen him in Daredevil.
Yeah, I've seen him in a couple other things, but he's usually doing kind of comic relief stuff.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I agree with you. I think that comedy does not automatically, because here's the thing: you have a lot of actors who are great at comedy within serious things.
Yeah.
Like Coolio is like Bazooka, a rapper that has jokes written on it.
Really?
I'm sorry.
I'll leave it now.
So go ahead, Luke.
No. I was just going to say I totally agree with you both. I think it has a lot to do with the actor or actress's versatility skills. Because, you know, like I'm not trying to make a joke. You wouldn't put Jack Black in Schindler's List any more than you should put Robert De Niro in a Rocky and Bullwinkle movie, which sadly actually happened.
Now,
you know, I would say that Robert De Niro could do some comedy. I've seen him do things that I think would be
I think so
borderline comedic.
You know what? And you're right. I say
Robert
that
De Niro
forgetting completely Meet the Parents.
Yeah, I thought De Niro had been in some comedic films,
Oh,
but
yeah, he's been plenty now.
But when he does that, isn't it usually, because it's not an actor I know as well as you guys, so tell me if I'm right about this, but it seems to me like the brief times I've noticed Robert De Niro in things that weren't just straight up serious was still using him for what he's usually doing already in a comedic way.
Like
not really making fun of him, but just taking what he usually does seriously and giving him amusing lines to do with that.
I think the best example, actually, I think here's a great contrast for you. Analyze This is a terrific comedic movie.
It is, yeah.
That stars, or at least co-stars, Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Analyze That, by contrast, is a movie that uses Robert De Niro improperly. To some extent, I would say that writing comedy, you need to have a healthy understanding of drama, because you need to have a contrast in there. So you need to have, there's a guy who's a straight man, and then there's a guy who's, you know, telling the jokes.
So really, when you make a film like that, you have to already know, if you're writing that person who's mainly known as a serious actor, you have to know if you're writing him for a comedy, you got to know where his strengths lie.
Oh, absolutely.
In the fact that maybe his seriousness will play off as like a funny, you know, joke or whatever.
I don't think you would write that character unless you knew you specifically had Robert De Niro. Like, I don't think you'd write that just for somebody and then cast De Niro. But some actors are that way. I wanted to just for a moment partially disagree with something you said, because I don't know if you're right about it. I don't know if Jack Black can't do serious because I've never seen him do it. You would have said the same thing about Jim Carrey in 1994 when he played The Mask. You never saw him do anything serious, so you wouldn't think that he was probably great for serious. But since then, we've seen him do some great serious roles.
I'll say this in defense of you, there is not a bone in me that sees that Jack Black would do something serious. But to add to what you're saying, Jack Black did something really interesting in Tropic Thunder, where basically what's interesting about Tropic Thunder is here's a bunch of actors, comedic actors, who rarely, if ever, branch outside of comedy. Well, let me rephrase that. We have two comedic actors in that movie that rarely, if ever, branch outside of comedy.
And then Ben Stiller.
Yeah. Ooh, zing. So Ben Stiller is, he's almost always comedy. I've never seen a drama by him.
And you got Robert Downey, who's in dramas, usually in a somewhat comedic role.
Exactly. And you have Jack Black. Now, what's interesting about Jack Black's character is that he plays a comedic actor who only does terrible movies, and he is a person who, you wouldn't necessarily want to hang out with. He's kind of a disgusting guy.
You know what I think it was in terms of Jack? I know this is very. I think Jack Black's role in Tropic Thunder was like a really negative Funhouse mirror version of what maybe Chris Farley could have turned into.
There's
a potentiality. I'm almost thinking that it's Jack Black.
Though?
Yeah, I think it's kind of Jack Black looking at himself and his career and seeing where he's going and saying to himself, I am aware what's going on and I don't necessarily like it.
Wow.
And I think that has a lot to do with the fact what we're talking about right now is just going from serious to comedy or vice versa, is I guess at the root of it is self-awareness. Do you think that you really are capable of transferring from one genre to the other? Like, I like the whole Robert Downey Jr. thing, because he is in a lot of dramas. Like, I always think of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
But we're usually laughing at him in those dramas.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And even, I mean, like, Sherlock Holmes, I think he's doing a very similar thing to what he's doing at Iron Man. But that doesn't mean that those characters don't have dimension and that I don't take them seriously. It's just that they're also characters with senses of humor and with quirks that are unusual that we're not used to seeing. So I think you do get a lot of actors who are usually in dramatic roles that know how to play comedy. I think pretty much anybody, any major character that Whedon ever cast in an Angel or a Buffy episode was like that. Most of his characters were both serious and funny all at the same time, and that's why a lot of those actors have gone on to do a lot of stuff because that takes a lot of work to be able to do that. Well,
and it provides a lot of depth.
Yeah. So, but I want to ask you real quick, going back to what we were talking about a minute ago with Jack Black. I want to ask you if you agree with what I said about Jim Carrey. Like in the mid-90s, would you have ever thought, just watching that guy do all of his screwball comedies, where he kept getting kind of cast in exactly the same role, that he would eventually grow out of that and show that he had a lot of range?
That's very true. I mean.
I'm not trying to single you out or anything and saying that you were wrong.
No,
but I wonder about it because I really think that maybe Jack Black could do that. I just don't know because I haven't seen him.
And you could say that about him. You could say that about Robin Williams. You can say that about Adam Sandler.
Thank you for Robin Williams.
All three of those people have, even though Adam Sandler hasn't done it much, all three of those people have had films where they've played, a decent, serious character.
Yeah, but Sandler, as opposed to the other two, has.
I'm thinking of Rain on Me, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've not, but
it's really good.
But for the most part, wouldn't you say? I mean, he's now what in his early mid 40s.
Yeah,
Adam Sandler, and he's still getting stuck in mostly those screwball comedy type roles, right?
Well, here's the thing about
Jim Carrey still will occasionally come back and do one, but it feels almost like a throwback when he does it. Whereas Adam Sandler, it's almost like he can't get out of that. But he's not the only actor who's like that. What about who am I thinking of?
Will Ferrell?
Well, Will Ferrell kind of has that too, doesn't he?
Will Ferrell has the potential to move on. The thing of it is, he's working so closely and for so long with SNL writer Adam McKay on all these films that he's been doing, like even up to Land of the Lost.
So almost like he just wants to do that
The campaign, actually, I think, was with Adam McKay.
I'm going to toss this thought out there. I don't necessarily know that this is true, but when I look at Will Ferrell, I think there's a guy who has the capability of doing drama, but
I think him do it.
I think he's just likes what he's doing too much.
Yes. Well, that's like Adam Sandler. A lot of people give Adam Sandler grief, and Adam Sandler takes it very personal when people insult his movies. He does not really care so much about the quality of the film. It's the fact that he has the money and he has his own studio to do what he wants, and he wants to do it with his friends. And I think that's kind of what Will Ferrell does. He wants to do it, what he wants to do with his friends.
Now, what was the movie that he was cast as the sort of old pro stand-up comedian?
That was Funny People.
Yeah, Funny People. That's interesting that he would be offended by that because, I mean, look at the character he played in that. I was assuming that he understood why he was cast in that role.
Yeah, and this is veering off subject, but I think especially if you're a comedian, you have to have, again, the self-awareness to know when a film isn't working, or if you, as an actor or actress, aren't working. You know, like you're not appealing, is what I'm saying.
There's a couple of actors that I think really kind of break the trend that we're talking about, and I think that these are both really interesting because. Well, no, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. What we've been talking about for the most part are actors that either are in really funny, or usually doing really funny roles, and then eventually branch out into other stuff, or actors who don't want to. What about guys like Danny DeVito? There's a really weird.
He has a wild card
kind of series.
career.
Yeah, he's done anything, and he's been successful at everything. I mean, like, not that he's not been in movies that tanked or didn't do great, but I mean, like, but he's never had a problem staying on the A-list no matter what he's done. He's done really serious things, and he's done a lot of really silly things, too.
I'll say this, that Danny DeVito, like Dustin Hoffman or Steve Buscemi? Okay. These guys, they have a really distinctive look and distinctive delivery that just lends itself to, I think, multiple genres. And when you have somebody who is just plain weird-looking, but not necessarily funny, they are easily castable. Like, you look at Steve Buscemi, you're not going to
This is why it worked for Danny DeVito. He's talking about the entire cast of Taxi. That's really what it boils down to.
You know what's interesting is that
but I'm not wrong, am I? Because Christopher Lloyd has the same thing, he has exactly the same thing, right?
And they are both, Danny DeVito and Christopher Lloyd, are in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, yeah! I've never seen that, but I knew that, yeah.
Oh, and it's a very serious movie.
I've never watched it.
Oh, highly recommend.
I've seen that movie at least 50 times. I love One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. There it is. Just looking at DeVito and Lloyd, like, they constantly, in the movie, always have smiles on their faces. And it just, especially like seeing like, Back to the Future, or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, or the things those two have done, like, just seeing them smile, it kind of represents what they ended up doing in their career.
Yeah.
Kind of a Buscemi, they have a very weird, interesting look that just makes them amusing.
Yeah, they're either amusing, like you could watch Mr. Deeds, where Steve Buscemi plays a really strange guy, or you could watch a movie where, like Armageddon. Not necessarily saying that either of these movies are good, but
I can tell you at least one of them isn't.
Thank you for that disclaimer.
I won't tell you which one I'm thinking of. Go ahead.
But in Armageddon, he plays a guy who flies off the handle, and he's dangerous, and he's somebody that loses control, and you think, wow, that's kind of serious. So that's what's interesting about these people is that, and for another thing, we were talking about this before we started. I'm not sure why I'm clapping. But I like Pop-Tarts. But
I'm a real fan. Go on, Vince.
But I mean, you look at people like Tom Hanks, who don't necessarily have a distinctive look. They just have the talent to carry it through. And I think that to some extent, like some people get lucky and they're given the chance to really shine. I feel like Tom Hanks had a bit of a development. Like he was in that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned him.
But it's not just luck. I mean, think about his first serious film.
Actor, yeah.
His first serious film, Philadelphia. He got an Oscar for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not luck. It's
versatility. What's weird about Tom Hanks too, though, is that he was in comedies a lot when he started, but he's not a comedian. I don't even think he's kind of. He was usually playing the straight man type character.
Yeah.
And I think
Tom Hanks?
Tom Hanks, yeah.
Well, I mean, we're talking about things like a Bachelor Party, where he's this really bizarre character.
Okay, I've never seen that.
Like,
you know who I
like
think has the
Dragnet.
same? You know who I think has the same potential as Tom Hanks is Robert Downey Jr.
We're also limited by what we've seen.
that's true.
So I apologize.
If you're
if I
really
don't
into
know.
80s comedies, then you know a lot of Tom Hanks.
Well,
Yeah.
but the thing about Tom Hanks is I'm thinking of something like Big, where he's not being funny in that movie. Really, it's about. I mean, he is, but that's a movie about
It's
a character.
situational factor.
Thank you. It's a situational thing. It's about a character who is in a funny situation, but he doesn't know that it's funny.
Yeah.
And I think that
movie.
he's great at playing that. He's not just doing the watch me, I'm funny right now kind of thing.
A movie that really supports what you're saying, I think, is The Money Pit, where everything is just falling apart around this guy, and he's like, oh, what do I do? So, I think it's Shelley Long in The Money Pit. Have you seen The Money Pit?
No.
Have you seen The Money Pit?
No, I have not.
Have you seen the... Has your mother seen The Money
Obviously,
Pit?
we're limited by what we've seen. Go ahead, man.
But yes.
Thank you, sir.
So let's all stand by and mourn the loss of The Money Pit not being seen by everyone.
Yikes.
Well, no, we could even review it if you want to, Vance.
But
Right now,
if
we
it'll
are on
make you better.
unlimited time.
But I think you have a great point that we have
Yeah,
movies
we'll
where
watch it
Tom
in
Hanks
this
time.
is over the top and bizarre, and he says really goofy, cute things, like in the Bachelor Party movie, or like that's what it's called, Bachelor Party, where he walks over to his fiance and holds up a bowl full of potatoes and says, "Potato salad, chunky style, my favorite." And he pours wine. He's like, "I want some wine." So he does some really goofy, weird stuff. But
I
then
gotta
there's-
see this movie again.
Bachelor Party. Bachelor Party's hilarious. Yeah. But there's something I wanted to say, addressing something that you said earlier that I find interesting. It was what you said about Chris Farley,
Yeah.
which was that's where his career could go. I think that we have people who are like Chris Farley, Jack Black, who capitalize on what they look like. And they say to themselves, well, this is what it's kind of like a low self-esteem that extends to their career.
Like, it's almost like they're just...
It's like
They're
saying they
banking
can't
too
do
much
it.
on their physicality. Does that make sense?
It's like a person looks at themselves and says, well, I can't
I think
do
John
anything
Candy
else.
did that too.
Well, John
would agree.
Candy was a little bit more serious than Jack Black and Farley.
Well, sure,
Well, yeah. I mean, he did play
I'm
the
just
straight
saying-
man a few times.
But he was still banking somewhat on a lot of the roles that he landed had a lot to do with what he looked like.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and he did have a
He,
distinct look.
he does have that car salesman type look.
Yeah,
to him.
compared to somebody like
He does.
I can see that.
Yeah.
compared to somebody like Tom Hanks, who doesn't have as distinctive a look. He's kind of a just regular looking
He's
guy.
very much an
He's-
everyman.
Yeah, I mean, if people say that he's a very he's a very good looking guy, but he's a very but he's kind of regular too.
I give him a 4.
I think that
I don't
Mark
know.
Hamill,
on the superhero rewind scale, or no, I was
I just got that. I knew.
Before we end the show, I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't bring up an actor who had the reverse of what we're talking about, which is somebody who played serious for a lot of their career and then suddenly played comedy and always played comedy from then on. And I'm thinking of Leslie Nielsen.
Oh, yeah.
That is a really interesting scenario because
yeah,
he
because-
was in very serious things before Airplane.
That's right. He really was. I completely forgot about
He
that.
started as a serious actor, and I think he may have actually, forgive me if I'm wrong about this, did he start in soap operas, or was he doing just really serious films?
I don't know much
I
about
don't
him,
know.
Vince.
Yeah.
There's a TV series that I forget the name of it. It's like The Scarecrow of Romney Marsh or something like that.
Wow,
where,
that is an obscure reference.
and
We gotta give him props for
That's
even
cool.
remembering the name of
yeah,
that.
no kidding.
I've seen clips from it, and it's not necessarily the highest budget thing, and I think it was it was a TV show, and it's sort of Western. I just don't remember the plot. I haven't seen enough. I've only seen clips of the Scarecrow, and I'll tell you this, that Leslie Nielsen is a guy who I remember him as Magoo. I remember him as the guy from the Naked Gun series.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
And then I see this stuff where he's actually kind of intimidating, where he's a guy who is like, for example, this isn't necessarily the most serious movie, but Creep Show. He plays a man who kills other people, and or as opposed to himself. But he kills other people, and he's
Pretty
really
short
menacing.
movie if he killed
He
himself.
has a deep voice. He has a fairly dapper appearance.
Yeah. And the thing is, that's what he was known for prior to the 80s, and the reason he was cast in Airplane, because he was playing, he was making fun of that type. They got him because that's what he usually did. So that's why he was acting really serious in that movie, but obviously in a really silly way. So that's how you get straight deadpan deliveries like "Don't Call Me Shirley" and stuff like that from Airplane.
Oh.
I do that all the time. I love saying "Don't Call Me Shirley."
It's great. So, but I guess what I'm asking with somebody like Leslie Nielsen is it a bad thing that that's ultimately what he became known for? Because he did the serious thing up until the 80s, and then he did the goofball stuff till he died, you know?
Yeah.
And he was in a lot of what I think are really bad comedies. He was also in some really great, silly, stupid comedies. I mean, I liked a lot of the Naked Gun films, especially the first one.
How many were there, by the way?
There were 3 or 4. Well, the thing is, actually, those were spin-offs of Police Academy. So there were a lot of Police Academies, and then there was Naked Gun. Naked Gun was actually a spin-off of Police Academy, if I remember right.
I knew that, too.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about
I
that.
had no idea.
So anyway, but then he did these things that felt like kind of vehicles for him, which is weird, because he was already in like his late 50s, early 60s, I think, by the time he started doing stupid stuff like Dracula Dead and Loving It, and movies like that, which just wasn't there. Or Spy Hard. The only good thing about that film was Weird Al's theme song at the beginning, where he's like, "The movie you're watching is Spy Hard!" And I don't know, it was great.
Wow.
But anyway,
It's like making fun of Apocalypse Now.
so,
It kind of is.
yeah, it is. So I don't know. I guess my whole point is, maybe it's sad that that's where it went, or maybe that's what maybe he enjoyed doing those more.
I could only assume that that's what
just
happened.
farcical kinds of films.
Like maybe he got older and said, I just want to have fun. Like,
yeah.
Well, I kind of think that's what Robert De Niro is doing, really. I mean, he hasn't been in a whole lot of serious things.
Oh man, I wish I could remember the role that.
But at least Robert De Niro's not doing things like superhero movie. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. He does do some really bizarre stuff, though.
He does.
Like, personally, I think Meet the Parents... Was that the first one? Yeah. I would have stopped after Meet the Parents. Oh, no.
I mean, hey, he knows that, he's kind of... That sounds gruesome. He's kind of at the tail end of his career. I mean, he's older. He's got to be in his 70s or 80s.
Well,
He can just, kind of what you were saying, he can just kind of kick back, do what he wants to do, just have a little bit of fun, not work as hard. Like, I watched Taxi Driver last night for the first time ever, and I was kind of thinking about this subject actually last night, thinking about, how hard he had to work for films like that, and Casino, and Raging Bull.
And can you really do that when you're in your 70s? I mean, I guess some people kind of can, but...
They can't. Well, there's other people who can. Christopher Walken, Sean Connery. There's people who are older who still work really hard.
Yeah, but when was the last time...
But if you're getting older...
But when was the last time Sean Connery or Christopher Walken were the title characters in a film, Like...
Christopher Walken has a new one coming out.
Oh, does he?
I wish I could think of the name of it.
How many times has Sean Connery ruined an episode of Jeopardy? That's all I'm saying.
Well, hey, on that note, we're definitely all out of time, so...
Please do a Sean Connery impersonation.
Go ahead, I don't care.
Yeah, as long as you don't do one of the raunchier lines.
You think you're pretty smart, don't you, Trebek? One with your dangle mustache and your greasy hair.
Well, anyway...
Sorry, I love it.
Luke, thanks again for being with us. This is a great topic to have you on. I'm really glad that we did that.
Thank you.
With Luke
It's
here,
really great being on here.
I think this was a great discussion. I have Luke with us, so thanks a lot, man. Everybody, thanks a lot for watching Geeks Not Nerds. And if you have any opinions about this, be sure to leave them in the comments. Also, if there's anything you'd like us to talk about in a future episode, leave that in the comments as well. And thanks as always for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
And I'm a stranger named Luke.
And we're reminding you to support your local comic book store.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.